On a freezing mountain night, Elias sat alone in his wooden cabin, sipping hot tea. The wind howled outside, and snow covered everything in white. Suddenly, he heard a soft knock at the door. It was strange. No one ever came here. Elias opened the door slowly. His eyes widened. 4 small creatures lay in the snow, baby dragons, frozen and shaking. Their tiny eyes stared at him, full of pain and fear. Elias had never seen anything like them. They looked helpless, dying. Without thinking, he pulled them inside and laid them near the fire. Their scales sparkled like ice crystals. Elias wrapped the baby dragons in blankets and placed hot stones beside them. Slowly, their bodies warmed. One opened its eyes, bright silver, glowing in the firelight. It let out a soft, crackling sound, like fire trying to speak. Elias had seen many things in his long life, but this was beyond anything he knew. Dragons were myths, weren't they? Suddenly, the smallest one let out a weak breath, and a tiny spark shot from its mouth. The others followed, breathing faint puffs of smoke. They were alive, but just barely. Outside, the wind stopped. The forest had gone silent. Elias reached for his old hunting rifle. Just then, the fire dimmed. A tall, dark shape moved past the window, slow, silent, and massive. It wasn't human, and it knew the dragons were here. Then, a loud branch snapped deep in the forest. Elias froze. He wasn't alone. Something was out there. Something big and watching. Elias didn't move. He gripped his rifle and stared at the window. The shadow outside stopped. Then it leaned closer. A long, clawed hand pressed against the glass. Elias stepped back, heart pounding. The baby dragons let out soft whimpers, sensing the danger. The fire flickered low, casting strange shapes across the walls. The creature sniffed at the door, then growled, low and deep, like thunder under the earth. It wanted the dragons. Elias whispered, "Not tonight." He tossed a log into the fire. Flames jumped up. In that moment, the shadow vanished. But outside, heavy footsteps moved through the snow, slow, circling the cabin. The baby dragons huddled close to Elias. They trusted him now. Whatever that thing was, it would be back. And Elias knew this was only the beginning. By morning, the storm had passed, but the danger had not. Elias barely slept. The baby dragons lay near the fire, breathing easier now. Their colors shimmered, blue, silver, green, and gold. As he added wood to the fire, something strange happened. Flames twisted into shapes, wings, eyes, claws. Then a voice whispered from the fire, "Protect them. They are the last." Elias froze. "Who's there?" No answer, just the crackle of fire. Suddenly, one dragon lifted its head. It looked straight at Elias and blinked slowly, like it understood. A mark began to glow on its chest, a glowing symbol Elias had never seen before. He felt something stir inside him. Not fear, but purpose. Then he heard it again, a howl in the mountains. The creature had returned, and this time it wasn't alone. Elias stepped outside, rifle in hand. The snow was no longer clean. It was streaked with red. Tracks led from the woods to his cabin, huge clawed prints circling like a predator stalking prey. But that wasn't all. There were other tracks too, strange symbols burned into the snow, not made by feet or paws. It was as if something from another world had walked there. He followed the trail a short distance, heart tight in his chest. Behind a rock, he found what was left of a deer, ripped open, but not eaten. Just killed. A warning. Back at the cabin, the dragons growled softly. The gold one stood on shaky legs and let out a burst of fire. Stronger now. Elias looked to the sky. Dark shapes moved in the clouds. Not birds. They were coming. And the real war hadn't even started yet. That night, the clouds above the mountains lit up with strange lights. blue and red streaks racing across the sky like fire and lightning dancing together. Elias stepped outside, eyes wide. He'd seen storms before, but never like this. The baby dragons came to the door, staring upward. Their scales glowed in rhythm with the sky, pulsing like they were connected to it. Then, high above, a giant glowing symbol formed in the clouds, the same mark that was on the dragon's chest. Elias whispered, "What does it mean?" Suddenly, the silver dragon lifted its head and let out a sharp, echoing cry. From the distance, an answer came, deep, powerful, and ancient. Something was calling them. Not just the monsters in the snow, but something greater. And it was coming fast. Before dawn, the forest shook with deep rumbling sounds, like machines, but not human-made. Elias peeked through the trees and saw them. Tall armored beings, moving in silence, their faces hidden behind dark helmets. They carried weapons that hummed with strange energy. They weren't here to rescue. They were hunting. One of them held a device. It blinked red when pointed toward Elias's cabin. They had tracked the dragons. Inside, the baby dragons hissed and backed away from the door. The blue one shot a small bolt of lightning. Accidental, but powerful. Elias knew they were growing stronger. He had two choices, run or fight. But before he could decide, a voice echoed from the woods. Not human, not machine, but something old. It spoke one word that made Elias's blood run cold. Return. The hunters turned. Something else had arrived, something even they feared. The trees bent as wind rushed through the forest, yet the air was still. A glowing figure stepped from the shadows. It was massive, taller than the hunters, its body made of light and armor, with wings that shimmered like the night sky. The hunters raised their weapons, but the figure only raised its hand. With a single motion, the ground shook. Energy cracked like thunder. Two hunters were thrown back, their suits sparking. Elias watched from the cabin, frozen in awe. The baby dragons crawled forward, their eyes wide, not with fear, but recognition. The golden dragon stepped outside, stood tall, and bowed its head. The glowing figure spoke in a language Elias couldn't understand, but he felt it in his bones. This was the dragon's protector, their true guardian. Then the figure looked at Elias. No words, just a nod. He had been chosen too, and the real fight was about to begin. The guardian raised its hand again, and the ground split open behind Elias's cabin. A massive staircase of glowing stone led deep beneath the mountains. The dragons hurried down, as if called by something ancient. Elias followed, heart pounding. The guardian moved behind them, sealing the path with a wave. Below, a hidden world waited, an underground temple, carved from crystal and fire. Symbols lined the walls, glowing softly. In the center stood a giant door, pulsing with power. The dragons stepped forward. Their marks lit up the chamber. The door opened. Inside was a sleeping beast, 10 times the size of Elias's cabin. A dragon king, frozen in time, waiting for the chosen ones to return. The guardian turned to Elias. "Protect them," it said at last, in perfect English. The temple shook as the mountain echoed with the sound of approaching footsteps. An army of hunters, armed with advanced weapons and dark energy, now closing in. Elias gripped his rifle, but he knew the battle was no longer about survival. It was about something much bigger. The baby dragons stood tall, their scales glowing brighter than ever. The golden one let out a mighty roar that echoed through the stone halls, and the others followed. Their tiny flames flickered, but now they were not just flames. Each spark carried power. The Dragon King stirred, its massive form shifting. The power in the chamber surged, and Elias could feel it in his chest. The dragons were awakening something ancient within him too, a force that had slept for centuries, waiting for this moment. Outside, the hunters broke through the temple gates, but they weren't expecting this. An army of dragons, young and old, rising from the depths, ready to defend their kind. The first shot from a hunter's weapon fired, but it never reached its target. The silver dragon launched forward, faster than a bullet, and the hunter was engulfed in a storm of fire and ice. Elias watched in awe, but fear gripped him. The battle had begun. The world would never be the same. Above, explosions rocked the mountain. The hunters had found the temple, and they were bringing an army.